Hey, what's going on, guys? The Skolside back again with the podcast number 3, the Skolside cast. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the offense. We're going to be breaking down every single position group on the offense. And yeah, let's just get right into it. Mike, Jim, want to say what's up?
Skolside. This is happy to talk to offense, and let's get to work here.
Up Skolside, ready to talk some offensive line. I know it's a great topic with Vikings fans.
Yeah. All right, well, I mean, that's where we're going to start. First thing about the offensive line, I think before we get into all the negative, I just want to say about the positive, that is Brian O'Neill. I think, you know what, we have a right tackle for the future. And honestly, one thing, I hope they don't move him to left tackle because I just feel like he was in such a groove last year that I just don't want to mess that up, and we should just try to go find a left tackle. But I mean, Brian O'Neill, the only really positive on this O-line, in my opinion.
Yeah. Basically, O'Neill, he was really good last year. I really liked him. You know, he didn't allow a ton of pressures. And then, you know, obviously the interior offensive line is definitely a concern. You got to hope some of these guys take a next step, especially Bradbury after last year. You know, he showed some flashes, but, you know, you can tell he's small, so he was getting blown off the ball a lot. And then I don't know. I really would like to see him bring in a veteran guard. You know, with I think they're going to try to give Samia a chance, or Dakota Dozier will probably get an opportunity. But I would like to bring a veteran guard. You know, create some more depth. You know, I think Cleveland will help hopefully at the guard position, but they gotta get away from F line too. You know, just too many times is pressure up the middle interior wise. So they gotta get better. So.
I guess with the positives, you know, obviously Brian O'Neill's been a great draft pick. You know, he's been a really good right tackle. Now, you know, I remember, you know, a lot of experts say it takes a little bit to, you know, create a really good offensive line. So now they have a right tackle who's in his third year. They're going to have a rookie left tackle, and they're going to have a center going into his second year. So they've definitely drafted. You know, Bradbury hopefully takes that step forward. Hopefully Ezra Cleveland can contribute this year, whether he's a tackle or a guard. And then, so hopefully that means they can start to build this offensive line. The interior is still the issue. I'm guessing their plan is right now is to have Samia start at right guard. And then, you know, I'm guessing they're hoping that Ezra Cleveland can contribute, whether he starts at left tackle from day one and they bump Reef inside, or Cleveland just, you know, they bump Cleveland inside and Reese stays at tackle until Cleveland's ready. So I don't know if that would be my plan, but, you know, they think it's going to work. So I hope it does. But I have my doubts about Samia. I mean, I know he played well in Week 17, or showed some nice things in Week 17. I won't say he played well. But second year in Kubiak's system, they must think he developed after his redshirt year.
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing with especially the interior with guys like Bradbury, is that Bradbury, I mean, a lot of pressure. I mean, if Bradbury at the end of this year, and we can say, like, we have our center for the future, we would have our center, we would have a right tackle, and then let's just say, like, Cleveland, he either steps up at guard or tackle. I mean, that's pretty solid moving forward.
Yeah.
But then again, you look at it the other way. Let's just say Bradbury has a terrible year, and he's just very inconsistent. Because the thing with Bradbury last year, I feel like it was like an every other week thing. Like, I remember, I forget what game it was, but it might have been after, like, when we played, like, the Lions and then Philly when he was going against Fletcher Cox. Like, he played good. And then we were like, all right, like, here we go. Like, keep this going. And then it would be like the Bears game, like, he got destroyed. And then also, like, the 49ers game, he got destroyed. It was just very up and down. Yeah. So hopefully another year in the system, we have our center for the future, because he's a first-round pick at the end of the day, too. I mean, he's got first-round talent. I'm hoping Bradbury works out, because that would help just make this a lot less chaotic and a lot less stressful if we have our center and right tackle for the future. Anyways, I'm hoping Bradbury takes a huge step forward, and I think he will.
Their offensive line, you know, as a whole last year, it didn't grade out to be that bad. Like, it wasn't. No. It's not like they gave up like a ton of sacks. But as we saw, like when they played against like teams like San Francisco and Green Bay and the Bears, you know, they would just get bullied. So like it's really that interior pressure that they really struggle with. But as a whole, and it probably has to do with the scheme. The scheme definitely helped out last year, and you know, setting up play action, zone running scheme. it kind of relieved a lot of pressure off them. But, it's just that interior pressure that really gives the quarterback a lot of issues.
Yeah, big time. There's so many good like nose tackles they face every year,
Oh yeah.
And multiple times you just see on film or just watching F-line, just like you can see him just getting pushed like 5 yards back.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, it can't happen. So I mean, it caused a lot of stress for Kirk, too. So obviously he doesn't do great when there's pressure coming. So they got to just somehow. I mean, there's a lot of what ifs with his offensive line, and hopefully, like you said, like a guy like Samia or someone could just step up and help.
I mean, if we had a quarterback like Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson, I don't think there would be enough like pressure on the Vikings going and finding interior offensive linemen. But then again, like we gotta the whole NFL is like playing to your quarterback's strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And Kirk, just flat out, he can't move that well early.
Yeah.
I mean, he can. He's athletic enough to do it, but he just refuses to. So anyway, I'm thinking like we just need to focus on his strengths, focus on the interior, and then work our way out. But then again, that's easier said than done because a left tackle and a good left guard in the NFL nowadays is worth. It's almost up. A good left tackle is almost up there with a quarterback and how bad you need a good left tackle with all the good edge rushers and everything. And speaking about a left tackle, Reef, I actually think they're going to play him week 1 at left tackle. I think they're going to – I honestly think it's going to be like a game-by-game thing with him. And if he shows up and he produces, he'll probably keep that spot, but I don't think he will. I don't think he's just good enough. And that's when I see like maybe they throw Cleveland there, move Reef to guard. But I'm hoping by like week 7 after that bye, we have the 5 we have for the playoff push. Because if we're just throwing stuff around, that's not going to work out well, especially with Kirk and still a young center. That is when the Vikings could get in serious trouble, I think, is if they keep moving
We've seen
pieces.
that movie before. It doesn't work.
With any team, it never works. Is moving it. You need 5 guys who all know their. It's just football. It's just chemistry at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. You need chemistry on the offensive line. You can't be bringing all those combinations in, every week. It's just not going to work.
No.
So, they got to find a consistent 5. And I feel like for years the Vikings just can never find it.
Yeah.
It seems like they've been searching for forever. They just never addressed it either in the offseason. Like they'll never go get like that guard. They can, that helps out a lot. So, but they got to find that 5 offensive linemen to help for sure.
Because last year we did, and our offensive line wasn't terrible. We just didn't really have the talent for it. But we kept the same 5, which was good. It's just that's why I'm scared. Like we might be trying to be like too good on the offensive line and keep trying to move pieces and everything. And I feel like that could get us in some trouble. But you never know.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on to the next position group we're going to talk about is the running back position. Obviously, I started off Dalvin Cook. I think he's probably the 3rd best back in the league behind McCaffrey and Derrick Henry last year. Honestly, as a Vikings fan, Cook at 100% in the backfield. I don't think there's another running back in the league I'd rather hand it off to. However, I made a video saying that Madison should be getting way more carries. I think it should be like a 60-40 split just because of the injury history with Cook. And just, if you look in the past, besides Derrick Henry this past year, but look at the Niners, it's multiple backs, always fresh. And plus, I don't want the Vikings to have to pay Cook if he goes runs for 1,700 yards. And I want him fresh by the playoffs. I also think Madison, he's a beast. I think he's very underappreciated. That's what I think about the running back core going this year.
Yeah, they're they have a solid. Cook's really good. It's just he obviously injuries are a concern with him. He's been injured every year since he came in the league. So I think Madison will help a lot with that. And he was really good last year. He honestly every time he got the ball, he got extra yards. Yards after contact were awesome with him. And I think he actually is a really good running back. And I think there should be more of a split there, just to kind of hopefully limit the injury risk for Cook. So also they can use them both at the same time. Split Cook out. In the slot. Because he's good. Catching the ball and getting out there and in open space, which I think he's better, which is his best trait. So I would like to see him kind of use them both at the same time also.
I think obviously Dalvin Cook's a really good player. Pat, I tend to more agree with you on his contract extension that they're currently mulling over. I think he's going to get extended, though, this offseason. I don't think the Vikings are going to bring in any more veterans this offseason until they figure out Cook's contract and maybe possibly Anthony Harris's contract. And I know Harris just signed a franchise tender this morning, but they probably want to work out a long-term deal. I just, Madison has really impressed me last year. I definitely think he should play more. But when with Zimmer as the head coach and Spielman's a big fan too, I think they're going to ride Cook as long as they want. I mean, they really. I mean, that San Francisco game, Cook did not look very good in that. Something that some people don't talk about. Cook did not look very good in that game at all. He didn't look hurt. Looked tired and hurt. And
honestly, in the second half of the Saints game, he looked tired. Like, because he took the 3 weeks off before that, and I think that was huge. He came out guns blazing. He looked great in the first half, but then he just died after the first half, and then San Fran. Yeah. San Fran, like you, if I was watching, I knew nothing about football. I would have no idea who that guy was. Yeah, I would have no idea. I would just be like, oh, it's just a running back. Like he's probably just a regular guy.
Yeah, very, very tentative too. And like I'm kind of with you guys. And I don't think they should extend Cook. It's just you never really in NFL you don't extend running backs. After their first guy. You can find so many good running backs just like in the free agency, like cheap running backs, that's been proven.
Too, all these guys
late rounds. And so, Madison's younger, he's cheaper. So I would be for letting Dalvin Cook walk, but I don't see that happen. I think they're going to extend him. So.
And I don't want to diminish what Cook has done because he is really important. He was really important last year. I mean, their offense is based off him being able to establish the run and him going with the play action. They need. They definitely need him healthy. Just that, weighing that versus extending him and giving him a lot of money when you already got money invested in your quarterback. And, at some point, they're going to have to pay Danielle Hunter. At some point, they're going to have to pay Brian O'Neill, who's coming up. He's going to be coming up on his this is going to be his third year. So, it's just tough because when Cook's in open space, he is so good when he's in open space. So
you got to get in space, though, yeah.
Yeah, Cook's honestly up there with Derrick Henry. It's not that big of a difference. It's just my whole thing with the running game is that running games win games, not running backs. And Cook, obviously, one of the best. Like, I love he's one of my favorite players to watch in the NFL because just how fast he is and all the wiggle he has. But then again, I want to see a game this year if Cook's out and Madison's 100%, just see what Madison can produce. Because when Cook was out, Madison was also out last year. And I'm hoping Madison isn't injury prone like Cook. But we got Mike Boone. And I think the drop-off from Cook to Boone is huge. But the drop-off from Cook to Madison is not as big as people think.
No, yeah, agreed, yeah. Madison's, I think, he's a stud. And then, like Jim said, like those positions like O'Neal, like the right tackle, the end, they're more valuable than
running back.
Honestly, a running back because you can find so many, cheap running backs, that are good, and like the Niners proved last year, multiple running backs, you can use like 3 running backs and do well. So I don't think you should extend them, but that's not my call, obviously.
Yeah.
They're going to, they are.
I guarantee you they're going to pay him. Like, if that was my prediction, they would. Which I don't get how you can if he hasn't. If he plays all 16 and we make a good playoff run and he's there for the whole thing, all right, pay him. But if he's out 2 to 3 games, you can't.
He's injury prone.
I feel bad because obviously his first year, like there's nothing he can do. He tore his ACL, that's just a freak injury. But and then 2018, then he's got to play after recovering from the torn ACL, and then this year. I can't even was shoulder or it's just it's been everything so far. So you feel bad for the guy, but unfortunately, it's just the nature of that position in the NFL. They're just not getting paid.
Yeah, well, all right. Moving into wide receiver position, probably had the most movement out of any group in this offseason. Obviously, we got rid of Diggs, got a lot in return, adding Justin Jefferson, adding Tajay Sharp. We still have Thielen, who I really think is going to have a big year. But then also we have guys like Irv Smith, who I'm going to throw. We're going to add the tight ends into this too. Irv and Rudy, obviously 2 really good tight ends. Rudy more in the red zone. Personally, with this group in this upcoming year, I actually don't think Jefferson's going to come in and produce numbers Diggs did. I think Thielen is going to produce incredible numbers, way more than he did in the past. And I think Rudy would be similar to what he was last year, just except more of just a red zone guy. And I think Irv Smith will be more in the pass game. I could honestly see Irv Smith getting more yards than Justin Jefferson. I think Irv will have a big year, and I think Rudy will catch a lot of touchdowns. But I also think Thielen will put up DeAndre Hopkins, Julio, Michael Thomas type of numbers. That's just the way I see it as of now. Could all change, though.
Yeah, I like Thielen a lot, and the receiver core as a whole, they obviously they're pretty young when you look at it. You got obviously Justin Jefferson is a rookie. You got BC Johnson. He was a rookie last year, and he's he wasn't bad, honestly. He was okay. He didn't hurt you. He didn't so it was good. And then he obviously brought in Sharp. But Thielen's got to have a big year for sure. They're gonna have to use him, but also someone else got to step up too, because Thielen's gonna get a lot of attention. So a guy like Irv Smith too, which is you got that tight end receiver. He's fast to be a receiver. So I do like the potential of the receiving and tight end core. I think there's some really good upside there. So we'll see how it goes, but I do like him a lot.
Yeah, this group's got a lot of potential with Jefferson. Now, obviously, that's just what you said. Jefferson's not going to put up the numbers that Diggs did. He's probably not going to do it for, probably in year 2, he's probably not going to do it. But, it's really a big year for Irv Smith. Obviously, we saw flashes of him last year. Rudolph has been, he's probably a little bit overpaid, but he's pretty nice to have in the red zone, and he's nice to have in third and short situations.
Locker room guy also with Rudy.
Yeah,
and he's just
it would be nice if Cousins would actually look at him in third and short situations a little bit more.
Which he did in New Orleans. He did, and it worked.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. So BC Johnson was pretty good last year. For stepping in the role he did. It's a good group. It's really going to come down. Thielen's going to have a really good year. Obviously last year he was hurt, but he didn't look that great when he came back from the injury last year. But in that second half of the Saints game, he was unbelievable. He made 2 huge catches, one on a 3rd and 9, and then obviously the one in overtime. So, they need that guy to be their number one, obviously. And this offense as a whole, it should be I know they got rid of Diggs, and that's a big loss. Diggs is a really good receiver, but this offense as a whole should be better this year. This is year 2, and they're bringing almost the whole they're bringing their whole personnel back. This should be a better offense this year, and the receivers are going to have to play a big part in that.
My whole thing with Thielen is I think people really forget how good he is because he was hurt last year, and the only real time we saw him to get back to who he was in the second half of the Saints game. I mean, this is the same guy who started off the season with 8 100-yard games. I mean, I think and that's with Diggs there. And I think they're going to focus a lot of their passing game around him. And then just when Jefferson, Tajay, Irv, and BC, I mean, those are guys. The only thing that scares me, though, is if Thielen has to miss a couple games, then it could get really weird. But then again, then it's time for guys like Jefferson. He is a first-rounder. He's a stud. He would need to step up huge. That's the only thing that concerns me is that a Thielen injury away is going to be we're going to have to run the ball 40 times a game.
Thielen, honestly, he's a great route runner. When you watch his film, just his way to create space, he's a great route runner, and also he can go up and get a ball. And when he's going up against a quarterback, he can go up and get one, in traffic, which is great. And then. I honestly, with Rudolph, they got to use him more down the field. They like to run those out patterns with him, and he's so slow. But just get him down the field because he's a big body and he's good. Go up in traffic and catching a pass too. So, I think there's a lot of potential here to have a good core.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, let's move on to the quarterback situation. And I think this is the most fun to talk about for Vikings fans, just with Kirk has a lot of, drama, not drama around him, but just a lot of speculation around, who he is really as a quarterback. My thoughts, I think he's a top 10 quarterback. I don't think he's anywhere near the top 5. I think there's a huge drop-off after, Brady at, 7 or whatever, and then it's, Kirk, Stafford, Kyler, all guys like that, Dak, all in that area. I think if you give Cousins the time he needs, he puts the ball on the line. However, if situations aren't perfect for him, then he starts to struggle. However, I did hear he was talking to Tarkenton, I think, and he was saying, like, I'm going to try to run more this upcoming year, which, thank God, please do. Like, please, it's just so hard to watch. And he was like, what do you guys expect from Kirk in this upcoming year? Hey, first off, MVP sleeper. Just listen. If the Vikings somehow win 12 to 13 games, you can't tell me his name won't be thrown in there. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, yeah, if they do, if they win that many games, he probably will be. If they win that many games, he'll probably be in there. But I mean, honestly, I've never been a big Kirk fan. Every big game he's been in, besides that Saints game last year, it's just he always just flops. So I've just never been a big Kirk guy. Like you said, everything's got to be perfect for him to do well. And like when he has time, he's one of the most accurate passers in the NFL. Like his deep ball is unreal, but like when any type of pressure hits, his pocket presence isn't great, and he doesn't move around. And like you said, he won't run, so he kind of becomes like a statue. Mm-hmm. And you saw in that Niners game last year. And I know the offensive line was bad, but there were some times he could have got rid of the ball, and there's guys open. He just refused to do it. Yeah. So I just never been a big fan of Kirk. I think he's a good quarterback, but he's not elite. I just honestly don't think he's gonna bring the Vikings to Super Bowl, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
All right. Kirk Cousins is a good guy, and he's a good quarterback. I wouldn't put him in the top 10. I think he's definitely probably a top 15 quarterback. And, I think he's a good guy. He gets, a lot of, since he's come to the Vikings, I think he's been hit hard on, what kind of leader he is. And, he's been compared to, Bridgewater and, the type of leader that Bridgewater was. I was really worried about the locker room, what happened in 2018 after that Week 17 loss to the Bears. It looked like a team that had no faith in their quarterback or had no want to go on to the playoffs with their quarterback. I will say I give him credit last year. After that, rough start and, whatever happened with, Diggs and Thielen and all that stuff and, probably Zimmer too. I will give him credit. Yeah, I thought the team bought into him a little bit more last year. And one, shot that I'll remember is when they won that game against the Saints. First guy went over to hug him, besides the backup quarterback Mannion, was number 99 to Neil Hunter. That was pretty big for me. That's a pretty important guy on the Vikings. So I think they bought into him a little bit more last year. Now they need to be all in with him this year because look, he does some things well, but still, it's still hard for me to fully believe in him after what happened against San Francisco, what happened against Green Bay, because it's not all his fault because things do break down on the offensive line, but there are plays to be made out there where he can make them, and he just hasn't made them yet.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to bring up his contract. His contract is what it is. Any quarterback on the open market will probably get that contract, anyone that has the skills.
Yeah.
But there are more plays that he can make for the Vikings to win games. And, those games against San Francisco and Green Bay and the Bears and all those are games why people label him as an average quarterback. So, those are the games that he has to win this year if, he's going to be the quarterback here for long term. That's all I'll say about Kirk. That's the most positive thing I can come up with.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with most of what you guys said. The only thing is with Kirk is he's had a lot of offensive coordinators and a lot of different schemes in his whole career. And I think last year really took a step forward in year 2 with him being in Minnesota. And I'm not saying he's going to, pop off and he's going to be the reason we win games. But, last year, just, in certain glimpses, in the second half of Denver, yes, they weren't a great team last year, but that defense is legit. And our defense flat out didn't show up. Our running game flat out didn't show up. Our offensive line flat out didn't show up. And he showed potential to go win a game. It's just he needs to do that more consistently because then again, the quarterback's the star player of any team. You should be able to overcome a bad game from your offensive line, which, it is a team game, but he should be able to overcome that. Now, I want to ask you guys something. This is something I was thinking about, and I heard it floating around Vikings Twitter and everything, is bringing in Joe Flacco on a vet minimum 1-year deal, bring him in just to be the backup. Listen, I said absolutely not to Cam Newton.
Oh boy.
I said Cam Newton, not a chance, too much distraction. I don't think Flacco would be a distraction. Now, the only thing that concerns me is, let's just say the Vikings lose week 1 to Green Bay at home. I guarantee you Vikings fans will ask for Flacco to start week 2. So that's the only problem I have with it. But if you think about it, he would help him develop as a playoff winner because Flacco did win a Super Bowl with a very similar roster to the Vikings have. It's kind of like I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't make a difference really in how I feel about the season. I would just like to have Flacco because if, God forbid, Kirk gets fucking hurt and we have to put in Sean Mannion, we will go 2-14. With Flacco, there's still a little, maybe there's a little Nick Foles in him, but I don't know. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. What would you guys want?
I mean, he's better than Sean Mannion, so I mean, I would, if he's willing to be a backup. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with bringing in Flacco. I mean, he's a statue like Kirk is, but
very similar.
Similar type of quarterback. I mean, he's definitely an upgrade over Mannion. So I mean, I don't see why not. I would do it.
No, I don't like Joe Flacco. I don't want Joe Flacco. I think Joe Flacco had a nice run in Baltimore, but he's just not very good anymore. And look, he played with a team that had a good defense last year, and he got hurt, right? Or I know he got benched, but
I
don't think he got hurt too.
I think he got hurt too.
Yeah,
I think it was like he was hurt.
Happened.
I think it was like he was hurt, but we're gonna kind of shove you out.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind I like the idea of bringing in a veteran quarterback as your backup. I just don't. I mean, he probably is a little bit better than Sean Mannion, but I don't think Joe Flacco. I would rather bring in a young guy but they didn't.
I wish they would have drafted a young quarterback. To be honest, to bring in. I mean, they got a couple. They have Jake Browning maybe on the practice squad.
They got Stanley,
or maybe the third quarterback.
They got Stanley.
Nate Stanley, that's right. They drafted him 7th round, but yeah. Other than that, they didn't really go get a young quarterback. But I don't know. I mean, in my opinion, he's better than Mannion, so I don't see it hurting anything.
Yeah. Are there any other veteran quarterbacks out there besides Cam Newton?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I'm not sure though.
But still, no. Sorry.
I don't.
Okay.
I mean, it wouldn't make or break the season at all.
No.
It's just I'm just terrified of Kirk getting hurt because then again, he's never shown history. So I don't know. I mean, that's just like threw that out there. But anyways, all right, we're gonna wrap this up with one final. We're just gonna give our thoughts on how we think the offense is gonna do as a whole this year, what to really expect. I'll start off. I think it will be very similar to the last year. I think we should take a step forward in just being like when we have those games against Green Bay and San Fran where we literally can't get a first down. That should not happen in year 2 under a scheme. I get year 1, you'll have those games. First half against Denver, the whole Green Bay game, the whole San Fran game. That should not happen in year 2, and I don't think it will. I think obviously in October this past year, they lit it up. Best Vikings offense I've seen since, honestly, Favre. And I'm not saying they'll replicate that throughout the whole year. I feel like they'll be around probably a 2 to 3 touchdown offense per game. Games will really get going, 4 touchdowns, and probably around 23 points a game. I hope that would be pretty solid with this defense that we have. But I think it would just be very similar to last year, run the ball, play action, just hopefully take another step forward.
I think the offense has a chance to be really good if the offensive line is much better.
The potential is there. The potential is there.
And you look at their offense as a whole, their skill players are all pretty young, and Thielen's still in his prime, but the rest, it's pretty young. You got Irv Smith in his second year, B.C. Johnson in his second year, Dalvin Cook's still younger, Alexander Madison in his second year. I mean, overall, they have a younger, in the skill positions, they're pretty young. I think it's going to be a lot of the zone running scheme again, and then just you got to get Kirk out and play action. That's where he's best at, when you're rolling him out, give him time to throw, and just those deep. His best strength is throwing those deep balls downfield. Just those verticals, or just longer routes. So definitely need to do that more consistently. They showed it last year, like you said, in that stretch in October where they were really good in moving the ball, scoring a lot of points. So it kind of faltered off there. So I think there's a potential to be really good. They got to be more consistent for sure.
I agree with Pat. I think it's going to be pretty similar to last year. My biggest thing for the offenses is, I think for most of the season, like last year, I think they are probably going to be able to run the ball, and they're probably are going to be able to establish play action. But in these meaningful games that they play that are going to kind of, determine how their season's going to go, all my biggest question is how are they going to be in situations where they have to put Cousins in the gun and they have to block and they have to move the ball to pass? That's the biggest question for me. If they're able, they didn't do well in 2018. They were a little better last year, not great. But in those situations where you have to put Cousins in the gun and their offensive line has to hold up and they don't have a running game, the only time they really did it, great last year is when they came back and beat Denver. I think it would, be beneficial to having Cousins, putting the gun at times and get that 2-minute offense going and just moving the ball to pass. They have to be better in those situations. They have to be able to score when their running game isn't that great. And last year they weren't really able to do it. This year they have to be able to do it. Because sometimes most good teams in the NFL can shut down the run.
Yeah. I would like to mention that I just can go more up tempo too at times. I think when you saw last year when they would go up there, like in that Denver game when they're going up there, Kirk was really good. Yeah. I just see him play with him a little more, up tempo, a little no huddle, kind of getting a rhythm because last year at times they would just come out flat and a lot of 3 and outs, and once Kirk, they were down a lot, they would get in that no huddle and he was really good. So I like to see him play a little up tempo too.
Yeah, my whole thing with the zone running thing, I love it. It's great. It's just when you're going against a team, like, for example, last year against Philly, we knew Philly was good against the run, so we came out passing the ball like crazy. Yeah. And honestly, I feel like we could have passed the ball against San Fran in the playoff game, but we came out and just saying we're going to do what we do well. And sometimes, with these 1980s coaches we have and Zimmer and Kubiak, we need to be able to say, all right, they are really good against the run. Kirk, shotgun, we're working it all week. Here's our scheme, here's our protection, and then we'll establish the run later. Because sometimes the whole thing is run, set up the pass. With the Vikings, sometimes you got to pass the ball to set up the run. You need to get 6 guys in the box, unlike 8 that Cook will see over and over again.
Got to do that more often. Yeah, I agree.
Their one advantage they had in that playoff game against San Francisco was probably Thielen and Diggs. Yep. I know Thielen wasn't completely healthy, and I know Richard Sherman is still good. I'm not saying Richard Sherman is not good. I don't want him to come after me. But their one advantage was probably Thielen and Diggs versus San Francisco's cornerbacks, and they should have used it more. Instead, they tried to establish the run, and they were putting themselves in bad situations, and it got out of control, and it was a disaster. Yep. So, sometimes I completely agree with you, Pat. Sometimes they have to come out throwing the ball, and it always does. And it's not even putting your quarterback in the gun. Sometimes off play action, it's okay under center in those 3-step drop situations. Like they need to do that more. It shouldn't just be run, and then let's hope it works.
Yeah. Well, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. This was just a complete offensive breakdown going into the year. Obviously, a lot can change with injuries, and we'll probably follow this up after preseason or something like that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. Remember to like and comment. I love responding to your guys' comments, whether you guys think we're right or wrong. Anyways, have a good day.